Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this third day before Independence Day of July. Got a great show for you all planned tonight. Big NBA news, big rumors out there. We know Damian Lillard has officially now asked for this trade. We talked about this the other day. There's a few destinations there. He wants to go to Miami. I'll get into that. ESPN layoffs are now official. We've got some names. Interesting story on LaMelo Ball. Interesting take, I think, on his extension out of Charlotte and more. I'll be back with some announcements as usual. In a 49 seconds, we'll take our first and only break here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty, then I'm back here. Now, okay, just a few announcements here. Now, obviously I didn't have a show Friday. And as I mentioned before, during the summertime, trying to put back money because of the sacrifice, the extra work on the day job, so I won't have to do this much during the football season. This is part of the sacrifice I've made to get this program off the ground. Last year, back now, have to put that money back in. Just a little explanation there. Now, tomorrow, Carlos, Mad New Yorker Chavez, we've got it planned to do a morning show at 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to replay it because I work situations 8 p.m. Eastern. If for whatever reason, we've already talked about this, if he can't make it, it's going to be another rerun due to work situations, okay? So just kind of stand by for that. Now, Wednesday, I've got a guest here, guy I grew up with, old childhood friend, Calvin Thompson, big baseball guy. I'm going to reminisce with him. Going to ask him about Calvin, about some of his upbringing or some of his teams he follows now, and what he's doing now. His son's into playing baseball as well. That'll be a taped interview because he's got to work. But so that will be part of the show on Wednesday's program. There'll be the second half of that. I'll keep you updated as we go along. Okay. I know that seems like a mouthful, but we'll get it squared away. This is all summertime. You're going to see some more reruns here because I'm trying to get my money squared away from this amount of pay cut that I've taken in the past. So that's basically it in the nutshell, okay? All right. Now, wow. You know something? So I did not think. Let me make sure and get this. So pretty much the current NBA signings, in my opinion, were all about money. They were about money. They were about security. Guys staying in place. I don't like to move. I've put off moving. I contemplated moving to Tampa this past year. And after I started thinking about everything and the opportunities I had here, my job situation I had here, just the winters, it wasn't enough for me to move. So I understand a lot of the players don't want to move. But, I look at guys like Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. Now, Dylan Brooks, I'll cut him some slack. Both of these guys signed with Houston. I've cut him some slack here. And because he didn't get that much money on his second contract, got a big contract there with the Houston Rockets. Now, VanVleet, from former Toronto point guard, made a big chunk of money on his second contract. He's 29 years old. I think that there could have been some other opportunities out there for him, just to name a few. A Clippers of Boston, maybe in a Phoenix, would have been a better fit for VanVleet. Now, Pickle says Gabe Vincent went to the Lakers. I don't see that. Not unless that broke in the last 5 minutes. If that's not on this guy Shams Charania and or Adrian Wojciechowski, I mean, I just didn't. That would be a good one. Now, of course, Austin Reeves. I do think. Now, I'll say this. So yeah, Corey said he likes the moves. Now, Ime Udoka. You got that. You've got a veteran coach there, knows what he's doing. You've got two vets there. Pretty good deal there. But this team was a lottery team last year, and you would think that they would try to go to a more competitive situation, particularly VanVleet. So and I'll say this: a lot of people think this is a poo-poo type of deal. But, Kyrie Irving re-signed, Draymond Green, Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez, and his brother Robin both signed back with Milwaukee. Cameron Johnson, Kyle Kuzma, Russell Westbrook all stayed put in their current situation. They wanted to play it safe, They totally wanted to play this thing safe here. I did like this 4-year, $56 million for Austin Reeves. They were talking about $100 million for Reeves at one time. So he got him a shoe deal. Reeves is a really good role player. It seems like teams and organizations are trying to keep the role players in place here. They're not trying to get crazy with the star and go up. There were some rumors that maybe the Lakers would want to pick up a Kyrie Irving or somebody like that. That all fell through. But I didn't care for D'Angelo Russell staying with the Lakers. I didn't think that was a good play. I like Ryo Hachimura. I like the Austin Reeves deal. Not in love with D'Angelo Russell there. But, Kyle Kuzma stays. So basically what I'm saying is, my thing is, your second contract, I know that life of an athlete is short. Okay, I understand that. The first contract, it's not, even if you're the number one overall pick, it's not this big, massive amount of $260 million max money. If you're blessed enough and you stay on your game enough and you've convinced this organization, which they can offer you the most money, the organization that drafted you, a second contract, I get it. What are you talking about? Anthony Edwards with the Minnesota Timberwolves, second contract. LaMelo Ball, which I got another take on LaMelo later with the Charlotte Hornets. Totally get that. But after that, after you've made that 100 to 286 plus Supermax contract, and you're 26, 27 years old, if it's me, I'm thinking legacy championship next. And if we're not bringing in some help here, I'm going elsewhere. That's why I was never one to bash LeBron James when he left, when he did in 2010, I want to say, that summer to go down to Miami, because he signed that second contract. He first of all, you want to take care of yourself and your family on that one. That's your big contract. even after taxes and agent fees, if you're taking home about 46 in cash at any point, and you're not a moron, you're probably going to be okay the rest of your life if you're not spending like a fool and got about 20 different kids, about 20 different women. You're going to be okay. And I'm not saying for the third contract to go play for the league minimum. I'm not saying that in anything. But I'm saying I wouldn't try to break the bank and get another super max to play on a mediocre to bad team. I'm thinking I'm going to go championship hunting, man. You know, and Pickle, Corey says that's what Dame is thinking now. So my thing is, Damian Lillard is 33. He should have never signed that contract in 21. He already got the big money in his second. He's drafted in 12 and 16. He got a massive deal. In 21, he should have just did a major free agency tour, and then he would have been fine. But these guys they wanted to stay with the team they were on because they got the most money. And it's, Kuzma could have helped somebody out, but he didn't want to do it. Fred VanVleet, I think I would have took a little bit less to try to get another. Now, he got his ring in Toronto. He's a great story. I want to say somebody told me that from the Mac and Jack, he is the highest paid undrafted player ever with this contract. And I love stories like that. I love the Joker in the second round story. Ben Wallace was a second round guy. Had to work his butt off. Former Detroit Piston there. Got him a championship there. Made it the hard way on defense. But it just seems like it's just more about the money rather than it's about winning. And it is a little disappointing. So as of right now, okay. But yeah, so Lillard, here's an update on Lillard. This is from Sharm Sharamia. This guy's really good, from The Athletic. Keep that name in mind. Here he is from earlier today.
Play for the Miami Heat. I'm told Damian Lillard only wants to play for the Miami Heat. This is going to be a patient process. You're going to see Portland Trailblazers general manager Joe Cronin go through the league and track the market and see what else he can get in the marketplace for him. But I think, like James Harden, Damian Lillard is the caliber of player and at the age where a preferred destination is the likely path. And when you think about Miami, I'm told there are 3 or 4 team scenarios in a potential deal with the Heat that would potentially net the Blazers several first-round draft picks in a Lillard trade. And I think when you look at what Portland could want in a Damian Lillard deal, you're going to want assets, young players potentially moving forward, but definitely getting picks in a potential Lillard trade. I'm told Damian
11 years with VanVleet's a good model for the blue chip prospects, is what Corey says. So Lillard, you got 11 years there. I said Miami would be the best place from the get-go. Nobody else agreed with me. The player himself agreed with me. So I think I kind of know what I'm talking about, not to be cocky, but man, how about the same guys that tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, or the ones that didn't pick my playoff predictions, that I smoked them in their playoff predictions. The ones that said that Memphis will beat LA and they said Golden State will beat the Lakers. Then they turn around and said Denver, that the Lakers would beat Denver. And of course I had the opposite, and I was, they like to, be flashy with all these analytics, some of these national media folks. And the truth of the matter is I use a little bit of analytics, but I don't get too caught up into it like as the NFL. But Lillard, 25 points a game, going to be a solid. He's always come off to me as a professional that he's a guy, 4-year player out of Weber State. He's a pro. He'll fit in like one of those round pegs in Miami. Always in really good shape. I think it's not all about him. I don't think he's a guy that has to carry the ball up the court all the time. I think he can play off Jimmy Butler. He's going to be a more consistent scorer, unlike those other players. Yeah, they look great, but they're not as consistent as Butler was. And, of course, Butler's long in the tooth, too, a little bit. So both 33 years old, looking to get that championship there. You throw them with the Bam, maybe try to get another big somehow. And I think that they can make a run. I mean, they use the players they got. They have to get the player with the right mold here. There was I did do a screenshot with other teams that might be interested, that are interested. According to Sporting Moves, Chris B. Hayes, they took a tweet from Chris Hayes, TNT guy. Not 100%. He's not Sharms or Adrian Wojciechowski, but he did say the Clippers, who re-signed Westbrook, for God's sake. I wouldn't sign with the Clippers for all the tea in China if I'm Damian Lillard. But you throw a Minnesota Timberwolves in there, possibly a Celtics, Corey, a Celtics team, and they also mentioned the Pelicans. I wouldn't touch the Pelicans because I don't know Zion Williamson's health. We've already done the C.J. McCollum thing, but Boston would be really good there in Minnesota. Like I said, Boston, I felt like they needed another piece instead of just somebody to replace a Marcus Smart. Two teams that are very serious about winning. Two organizations are together. Well, every time like I said, since the first day I saw Damian Lillard when he was drafted, 4-year player, he's always seemed like a player that has got his crap together. He's a pro. He's a pro's pro. And he would fit in Boston really well. He would fit in probably better. You already got your bigs. You've got your wings there. You've got a Sam Cassell, a former point guard, as an assistant coach. Boston would be really good. Now, Miami, he seems to be headstrong about wanting to go to Miami. I get that. But you could potentially say, yeah, Boston may be a better play there for Lillard to hurry up. And Corey says he's a worker. You put a Damian Lillard on that Boston team, and they're going to be really hard to beat, man, even for a Denver team. With that new staff there, with that big there, with that passing ability, he knows he's not there just to be a ball hog, especially when you got a guy like Jason Tatum there and you've got a Jaylen Brown. I mean, so that would be unbelievable. That would probably put them back up to be favorites to win the whole thing again, even over the champions as of right now. I don't know if he would want to go there, but it would be an easy sell if it's ring or nothing. Forget about the snow. Forget about all the BS. You made all the money that you need to make. Go out and get that ring. He seems like that type of player. You hate to talk about a guy 10, 12 years after he's left the game and say, man, Damian Lillard, another great player that did not get a championship ring. Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Damian Lillard, John Stockton, all-time steals assist leader, Karl Malone. Do you want to say that when you say Damian Lillard? I wouldn't. Sure would like to see the guy get him a ring. But we'll see how it goes. All righty then. So, like I said, I did not hold it against any player that signs their second contract for a major amount of money. Okay. LaMelo Ball. That is, I think he's the youngest, but I can't. There's 3 Ball brothers. LeVar Ball. He's got 3 sons. You got Lonzo, drafted first, 4th pick overall, went to the Lakers, been moved around. He's with the Bulls. He may not ever play again. He's going to be out next year. Sad situation there, but he's got some good money. He made some good money. The Lakers paid him, and he's got another contract. Now, LaMelo seems to be the most talented of the sons. Charlotte, max extension, $260 million. And, I say this because, LeVar, about 5 years ago, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, he's pumping these kids up constantly. Let me play a soundbite from the dad. Been quiet, these last few years. But listen to this. And he's talking about the hat, the big baller, bro. Remember, he wanted to. He asked. He said, "I want." He said, "I want to get $1 billion from Nike, and I'm cutting Nike a deal with my sons." Okay, he's talking. He's going arguing with Stephen A. Smith. He got in an argument with one of the reporters from Colin Cowherd's show, and he's really making a fool out of himself. But I talk about manifestation all the time on the program, and I used to laugh at that. People laugh at me. I've got the vision board. But when he saw these kids born, let me play this first, then I'll finish my take. Oh, jeez, come on. I'm playing something off.
I'm trying to tell you, I knew this was happening before it was happening. When did you get this hat made? When he was a baby. What's it like right now that he is in LA Lakers? It's a wonderful feeling. But I already knew what was coming to him. I got 2 more boys. I got to come do the same thing 2 more years. Come see me when he does. I have another hat on to say, I told you so.
With the 3rd pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select LaMelo Ball from Chino Hills, California.
Yeah. And, you know, he looked at those kids, and I know that you got horror stories on this, but he says, come hell or high water, these kids will be stars. And as soon as they're old enough to hear what I'm telling them, they are going to be basketball stars. They're not going to be role play. They're going to be stars. Whether they think that or not, I'm going to pound that in their head. I'm going to manifest this in their head. And no matter how annoying I'm going to be to everybody else, I'm going to play the long game. This kid is 2 days old. 17 years from now, we're going to be talking about where these kids are going to play. We're going to be talking about shoe deals. You say, well, it's an opportunity. But I just like the idea of the vision of going forward. Whether you want to say using the kids, living vicariously, I just like the idea of manifesting on one thing, keeping your eyes on the prize, one thing, long game, tunnel vision. We will, in Chino Hills, we will be where we deserve to be. And now I saw the Jackson 5 movie about the father of Michael Jackson. I understand it can be obsessive. I saw the documentary on the kid Pickles that, oh God, you guys will be able to help me, Pickles. What was the guys that played for USC? This former pro locked this kid in. Got him too involved, and the kid got off on drugs. Too much into him that went to USC. I get all that. Trust me, I saw the Jackson 5. I know we can go too far. But that vision right there is something that can be used in one's life if you eliminate enough distractions. That's what I'm trying to do here. I finally figured it out. Took me a long time because I'm bored from nothing. You know, I get frustrated because I had to go work 12 hours Saturday. I feel like I shouldn't have to do it, but I wasn't born on first base. You know, you see this thing back here? Trying to see if I could see the stadium back there. You know, it took me a long time to figure that out. But you know something? He tried to start the Big Baller brand. That ended in 2019. But it's that shoot from the star mentality that I like about Mr. Ball. You know, he didn't make it. I get it. But I looked this up online in March 2019. Reported Alonzo Ball severed ties with Foster, some family friend. He misuse of $1.5 million on the Ball's personal business and accounts. In April 19, Bill Baller brand website was shut down. You know, the other boss son, he's in the G League. He's struggling. He don't have the talent of the others. But that vision, that type of focus, it's one thing to get drafted. It's another thing to get this type of contract. This is him saying that vision 18 years ago, 21 years ago. Now that I'm 41, I'll be 42 in a few weeks. 20-year vision isn't nothing. You know, looking down, having a 20-year vision, that is nothing. Playing the long game, going through obstacles, that is nothing, man. That is it. It's a great, you know, like I said, it's a well of a story. You know, it's a well of a story. And you can tell that, and I was reading that the Chicago Bulls have applied for the NBA disabled player exception worth $10.2 million due to the injury of Lonzo Ball, the other son who plays for the Bulls, expected to miss the entire season. But the chances of this getting like this is pretty far. Same thing with, you know, Peyton Manning and Eli and Peyton. The chances of both of them being number one picks, from both of them being Super Bowl level guys, for both of them getting second contracts, even with dad playing in the NFL. His other son got hurt in high school. He was supposed to be a receiver or something. His other son's son is named Arch, and he's playing for University of Texas, and it's very likely he's going to be a top draft pick in 3 years. It's one thing to have kids by a star. Michael Jordan had a son. He didn't make it. You know, Isaiah Thomas has got a son. Magic's got sons. They ain't even into basketball, to say the least. But there's something about having that long vision like that and seeing something come to fruition. And the guy knew that he was going to be annoying and stuff, but I'm thinking that same voice was staying on these kids' rear end day in and day out, you know. And I understand that they've had some fallouts. It's not a total, we're not having anything to do with you know, dad. There is a little bit of, you know, we're going our own way, the two Ball brothers. But it is a good story, you know. It is a good, we're not too far removed from Father's Day, a good father-son story. And again, it goes with having that vision and playing things out and not expecting something, even if you do hit the genetics lottery, for something to happen overnight. That's what I like about that story. That's what I like about the Ball story, if that makes any sense. Sounds like Don King would get, yeah. And Don King is still alive. He was Don King Pickles. I seen him the other day at 90 pushing a fighter the other day. He barely can stand up. Don King went to prison, and he said, I'll never do this again. I'll either go back to prison, I'll never be poor again. Now, of course, he's pretty crooked, but I just like that never die attitude with people, man. You know, there's something about that willpower that it's attractive. You know, when you're going against the odds, just that flat out willpower. I'm going to look ahead. I'm going to move ahead, and I'm going to be a tank. Luck and imagination goes a long way. Yeah. You got to manifest it first. You got to see that vision first come to fruition, and you got to ingrate it and keep speaking it until it happens. And you got to have all distractions blocked out. I've learned it the hard way. You know, I'm learning it right now. You guys are seeing me live it, trying to get this program off the ground. You know, guy called me. I worked 12 hours. I made good money Saturday. Made good money this past Saturday. But I was on call for 12 hours. I ran around all over the place. I did went to Waverly, Tennessee, guys, for all you from Nashville. bunch of country towns. And I'm getting home. It's hot here. It rained really bad Friday night and Saturday. And a funny thing, I was on call till 8, but I got paid no matter what. No matter what calls I get, the boss said, you're going to get this big salary no matter what. I was like, oh, that's really good money. I've never had that much. Okay, I'll take it. And, but, you know, so I dropped off this Quest thing. I'm a medical care for my day job, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, God, I bust my rear end off 40 hours a week. Then I go do another 4 hours a day, another 20 hours doing this show. I feel like I shouldn't. I'm having all these thoughts, right? And so I'm thinking I'm going to drive home. It's like 7:50. I'm going to call to 8. Nobody's going to call in. I can just start to creep home. And I just start to pull my car in reverse. Phone rings again. And I accidentally answered it thinking, bleep, not again. And I didn't think the dispatcher heard me. He's like, yeah, man, my bad. It's one more, man. I said, all right. So I said, nah, it ain't against you, man. I'm just trying to get done and a little annoyed that I had to work today, but I'm human, right? I'm human. So I hung the phone up. I went back, drove down the road, picked up one last call, dropped that off. And then I was thinking on the way home, hey, this is part of it, you know? This is part of it. You can't let your emotions from one bad day make you make this definitive decision to get off track. You know, I was reading about this guy. I was reading about this player when I was doing the Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat show. Domingo German got through a perfect game for the Yankees during the week last week. He 99 pitches. First Dominican player ever to do so. Pedro Martinez never threw a perfect game. Pedro Martinez. This guy had given up 17 runs in his previous starts. He is an inch away from getting sent back to the minors. And instead of letting his emotions get and his uncle died on top of that. Instead of letting all that defeat this man, this pitcher for the Yankees, Domingo German, now he's down in the history books as one of the very few players to ever throw a perfect game. 99 pitches, 2 3-ball counts. Instead of overreacting to those big games, he stayed with it. Now, I don't know if he's going to get a big, but that perfect game will always be in the record books, even though it was against a bad Oklahoma. Hey, it is what it is. It's still there. It's still there. I remember Randy Johnson. The Braves didn't have a good set of batters about 10, 12 years ago. And Randy Johnson threw a perfect game against the Atlanta Braves, you know? So I guess my thing is something came up about Robert De Niro. I thought he died, but his grandson died. Boy, that's terrible. Something popped up on my screen. I digress. But you just cannot let your emotions get the best of you, I guess is what I'm saying. Keep your eyes on the prize. Emotions come and go like heartburn, and you can't let them get you off course because we're going to have our bad days. I've had one lately. Like I said, I was really irritated Saturday, and that's why I say sometimes I may be working late Sunday, and I'm going to have to maybe take some days. This is mainly during the summer, some Mondays off too. But kudos to the Ball family. No matter how annoying the dad sounds, I can separate, I can decompartmentalize one thing from another, and I'm all about winning, and I like that type of drive and determination. Okay, big story here. Now, you know what? There is another, Clutch Points. It's a basketball website, NBA website. I follow their Twitter. It's called Basketball. I follow their Twitter feed, Clutch Points, and they put down a long post here on Twitter. And just hear me out here. They state that the Knicks are cooking something, and the league should be worried. Then he said this post says the Knicks. They've got 11 first-round draft picks over the next 7 years. They also have a bevy of promising young talent. That is true. That is true. Young talent and an all-star NBA player who could match salary, the perfect ingredients for a blockbuster trade. But while New York is hungry for a star who can make them contenders, the front office has been wise to wait for the most delicious deal. And I do commend the Knicks for that. That is true. Don't make it. I said the best move they made last year, other than getting Brunson, was not getting Mitchell. And you saw how Mitchell played. Mitchell, who was traded with Cleveland, young, talented team, but that was a 5-game series because he's too ball-centric. And this post goes on to say, Dame is craving a championship enough to leave Portland. The Giannis situation, Milwaukee, isn't as sweet as we think. If Dallas starves Luka of another playoff run, his patience may run out, and we all know Zion is still hungry for bigger things other than food and basketball. That can be taken both ways. Then at the end, it mentions players like James Harden, but at the very end of this post, it's a long post, they've got this picture of Joel Embiid standing beside with they did some technology stuff. I forgot what it's called. But basically Embiid standing next to Jalen Brunson with the Knicks uniform on. Possibly, yes. I mean, you've got Maxey there. Harden, they're going to move Harden at some point. He's not going to go to the Clippers now that Westbrook is re-signed. The Knicks are waiting for something big, and I hope, like this Clutch Point post says, be patient. Be patient. It might not happen in the month of July. They're in free agents. What about the trade deadline? Big trades were made. Kevin Durant went to Phoenix last year. They got Josh Hart, helped their bench last year. They got him to stay over for another $12 million to back up RJ Barrett. Another big move. Nobody talks about that. Keeping stability. Could they move Randall? Yes, possibly. And all those picks, that's what they were getting at. Go after another big star. Now, Luka, going after him, that would be crazy to get him in New York. It would take all those picks, plus send Randall back, plus something else. I don't even know if that would be enough. You know, only person I said Luka should go for, be traded for, maybe Jason Tatum. But that probably ain't going to happen. Now, of course, Kyrie went back to Dallas. Dallas is really desperate. They're going to need somebody. They should maybe go after. They need a rim protector like nobody's business now. But those two shoot the ball all the time. And one of them is going to have to play off the ball. And I think Luka should let Kyrie run the point. Let Luka play in the post, let him play off the ball. I think that would be fine. But as far as this Knicks team, I do think they're trying to do something. Just do not, and this is what the Knicks used to do in the past, do not do something that is just for the sake of doing something. They've been disciplined so far. So that remains to be seen. Damian Lillard's situation remains to be seen. So as the saga continues, we'll see. Sometimes the best move is to hold your cards because you got some aces there. And I do believe exactly what Clutch Point says, talking about that particular rumor. Okay. which is eventually going to turn into something. Okay, so now the names have came out. Switching gears. I'm going to get some water. Man, that was some good takes right there. Like my old preacher would say from this Baptist church, Brother Calloway, who's with the Lord now. That's good preaching right there, man. That's good sports talk, man. I tell you. Okay. Now, ESPN, we saw this coming. Massive amount of layoffs here. Here's my thing. I've had many different takes on this. We know about cord cutting. We know about lecturing the general public on politics and social issues, which tells me two things. Bleep that rhymes with risk, poor management. Okay? Awful announcing. This is from Awful announcing. Complete list of ESPN shocking on-air layoffs here. All right. I mean, you're talking about, Jeff Van Gundy, a staple of the NBA, which I think is one of their great chemistry guys to work with Mike Breen and Mark Jackson. I didn't like that whatsoever. Jalen Rose, don't agree with Jalen Rose on pretty much nothing nowadays. Don't want to see anybody get fired. Max Kellerman, another guy, another one of those social justice warriors, been with them for years, 20-something years. Todd McShay was supposed to, he's their NFL guy. He's supposed to take over for Mel Kiper after he retires. And of course, they fired him. Been there since 2006. Just to name, Susie Colbert, 27 years as a sideline reporter, Pickles. Okay. And, people like Steve Young, Jason Fix, those are people you would know if you saw. Now, David Pollack. I've always liked David Pollack, followed David Pollack since he was a sophomore at Georgia. That's how far. And I want to say he's been with ESPN since 2009. Now, he was broke his neck, drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals, could not play again after broke his neck. And I want to say I had a soundbite from him. If all these stupid pop-ups would go away, I'll play you Pollack's soundbite. But these pop-ups, they're killing me, Smalls. But basically, he's saying, I don't know what the Lord's got planned for me, but it ain't this, I guess, And I'll say this. This is not the first time this has happened. Back in 2017, they laid off a boatload of people like John Clayton. Now, he's just now passed away. Trent Dilfer. Went on to coach high school football here in Nashville, Tennessee. He led the Baltimore Ravens over a 2000 win against the Tennessee Titans, and then later won the Super Bowl. And so those are people back in 2017. This was a lot of names too. Brent McMurphy, a college football guy, just to name a few. And quite frankly, this is embarrassing. So you're telling me after all that that's just one other year. They've had other layoffs, but other massive layoffs. This was back 6 years ago when ESPN laid off all these people and fired. They didn't lay. They never brought them back. Fired a lot of people back in 2017, and now 6 years later, you're laying off and firing big personalities here. Neil Everett, Sports Center guy. And my thing is somebody somewhere, but I know Disney owns it. Disney owns ABC. I get that. They have a president. They've already went through one clown president. He was supposedly doing drugs and all that stuff and letting these personalities talk about other things other than sports. But somebody's mismanaging the books. You know, they're mismanaging the books. This is embarrassing. You know, now I understand. I made some notes here. Last year, and I mentioned this, they paid $300 million a year to air exclusive SEC football. $300 million a year last year. This came out. Over the summer, 1 year ago, they paid $90 million contract to Troy Aikman at $18 million a year. That's 5 years. $75 million contract to Joe Buck to call Monday Night Football. They paid Adam Schefter, a guy I could have made this call. I'd tell Adam Schefter to take a hike. You're a sports reporter. They paid him $9 million a year for 5 years. Yeah, I said that right. They gave you, like Lieutenant Dan said, and Forrest Gump, they gave you an idiot who goes on national TV and makes a fool out of himself the Congressional Medal of Honor. Remember that from Forrest Gump? They gave, and I said this when it happened last year, Adam Schefter, which I would pay a third of that to Ian Rappaport with the NFL Network, or this Ari Morvov from Pro Football Focus, pretty good guy I follow on Twitter, just got hired on. Pay them a third of that and tell Adam Schefter, go kiss somebody else's rear end. Yeah, he started talking about gun control and all this crap on Twitter, and I said something back to him about sticking to sports, and then all of a sudden this burner account starts lighting me up, and I said, oh, hey, Adam Schefter, burner account, good to meet you, you little snake in the grass. He also married a woman whose husband died in the World Trade Center. He's one of them kind of rotten mother effers, you know. But they're paying him $9 million a year. I could have saved the money there and saved some of these other personalities. And then they paid Adrian Wojciechowski, the NBA guy, $35 million, $7 million a year. Well, I just mentioned Sharm Charamia from The Athletic. I would have offered him a seventh of that, less than $1 million, just as good. Boom, saved you some money. And I know those two guys that get a job, NFL Network, NBA TV, they would hire those guys. I know they're really good. I know they're really, really good. Got relationships. But my whole point about all this is somebody in the upper echelon, the proper heads aren't getting rolled, because the definition of insanity is making the same mistake over and expecting a different result. There's no excuse for what happened Friday with all these layoffs. There's no excuse for that, because you've already had to go through this 6 years ago. All right. And was it the $300 million contract? And plus that I mentioned Pat McAfee, $17 million a year to go to ESPN. McAfee got his own following. That's why I want to do this. I thought, my friend Carlos, I'm going to tell Carlos if he comes up in the morning. We had dinner here. We had lunch here last June. And I was saying, man, I really want to get on these radio stations, blah, blah, blah. He said, man, you got a platform. I said, man, you got a good point, man. You got a good point. If I have my own following, you're fireproof. You can fire me, but you're not going to break me. If you've got your own following, like a McAfee or whatever, who's the other? Joe Rogan. And I'm still working on Ice Cube. I'm going to stay on Ice Cube, man. Joe Rogan's got a following. Spotify can follow him, and there'll be a group of people wanting to sign him. Politics aside, Tucker Carlson, whether you love him or hate him, Fox fired him. I've been reading articles for 2 months. 2 months about offers $20+ million a year to get Tucker services because he has a following. If you have the people, everything else is nonsense. And they know it. That's why some of these, your Howard Stern was so cocky. Don Imus was so cocky. Rush Limbaugh was so cocky because those guys had followings. So that's my goal for this program. But like I said, the upper echelon, somebody somewhere is mismanaging their books at ESPN. They are somebody somewhere is drunk, throwing at a dartboard and hitting the other side of the wall to have this embarrassment, public relations nightmare on your company like this. This is not a good thing. You say, what's the solution? Well, when you have this is weak leadership too, more ways than one. When you have personalities at a women's basketball tournament game, city personalities, Ella Duncan, I think is her name. She's pretty well known on SportsCenter. Interrupt the score of a tournament game at halftime and talk about the Florida, they call it Don't Say Gay bill, where it was against the law for teachers to talk about sex with 6-year-olds. They had no business under the sun talking about that. So if you got some kind of moron, some activist running that segment of ESPN/Disney, that group, that cancer is what's costing other people's jobs. That cancer is a big part of it. It's more than cord cutting. And my whole solution is they should maybe just sell it. It don't have to be an Amazon or Apple. It could be a company that me or you have never heard of, that's low key, that's got trillions of dollars in assets, that quietly, people talk about Anheuser-Busch. There was some controversy about some stuff with Anheuser-Busch, and people say, "What's America?" No, Anheuser-Busch sold to a company in Europe 10 years ago. I read it 10, and it was so quiet. Nobody even, and I'm thinking, I wonder what Anheuser-Busch, who owns Bud Light, Michelob, I think they own Miller too. They sold to something. It's not St. Louis. That's all on commercials. Their company out of St. Louis does not own Anheuser-Busch. So my thing is that some company, and I'm thinking this could happen, that we've never heard of out of nowhere, that buys all the ABC Sports, buys ESPN as a whole. And quietly, and people you never heard of, but media people's heard of, and just starts cleaning house with these morons that run that place. These little woke, suck up, bleep offs that go up and tell employees to talk about other stuff non-sports related. Race baiting, activism, politics. Yeah, go ahead and just spread cancer all over our campuses and our networks, and put your thumb in the fan of in your viewer base. Put your middle finger up. What kind of moron does that? So part of it, they probably overpaid for the SEC. I remember when Colin Cowherd left there, when him, Skip Bayless, and all those guys got out at once, when Fox bought them out, and I thought, what a joke. You'll never hear from Skip and Colin Cowherd anymore. Colin later said that I knew when they paid all that money for that NBA package that they're going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul. This was before all the woke politics and all that vomit that he said they paid a ton. And my theory is part of it is that they paid too much to do the SEC football games, plus the cord cutting, plus the politics. You got a moron up there running things. Man, what do you own, ESPN? And, is it the president? Is it the people underneath this person? But either way, They're bleeping up like nobody's business. Pickle says, yeah, Pickle says NB in France. Yeah, it's some weird overseas thing, you know. And Corey says, yeah, I was just listening to a little bit of it. Ice Cube was on Joe Rogan. I'm going to continue to reach out to him through different means, through the big three, through emails, through different agents, you name it. Love to get Ice Cube on here. And I want to ask Ice Cube, I said, man, where do you get all that confidence from? You know? Where do you get all that confidence from? Boris says, go woke, go broke, Anheuser-Busch. Yeah. And they when they heard that transgender to do their commercial, and it was a woman who done it. This chick saying she's a young college brainwashed educated lady, and who, by the way, they fired her. They eventually fired. I read a week ago they fired her, and she thought that they was having too much frat commercials and too much American stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's what's keeping your budget the way it is. You don't want to. And there's a book called Good to Great Companies. Jim something Collins, I think. That's the name of the book. Great book. Read it 15 years ago. Read it when I was in college, 20 years ago. And that book said, do not get away from the core of what you do. Other words, if you're Walmart and you're an all-service center, don't get into the movie business. You want to be in the all-service center. If you are Walgreens and you want to be into the pharmacy business, stay in stuff that relates to pharmacy. You know, if you're in the car business, stay in auto parts and everything. Don't get too far of what you do great. Once you get out of that, Gillette was one of their companies. We're going to be the best razor on the planet. Gillette was an example company. Walgreens, Walmart, staple companies. This was, like I said, this is a 20-year-old book here. Good to Great Companies. And it talked about the mistakes that their competition made. Some of them I remember, some of them I don't remember, you know, when I was reading the book at the time. And they got out of what they do best. They got out of their core. They got too far out of what they do. And when you start throwing stuff at the wall at billions and billions of dollars at a rate like that, you may have a concrete base. You may have been built up 30 years, 40 years. But sons and people get in through legacy names, start taking wild chances. You can crumble. Rome will fall. Rome will fall. I didn't think Walmart would ever go down until I heard about Amazon. And now Walmart's a little bit late to the game. A little bit late to the online stuff. They're there, but they're late to the party. They're still playing catch up. You know. And Good to Great Company. That's a good book, folks. Summer reading if you want to read that. Anyways, you like the show, share the show. Again, if Carlos can make it, we'll do I've already sent him some topics. We'll do a 7 a.m. show. I'll replay it 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. If he cannot make it, my schedule is so too much on call tomorrow that I cannot promise you I'm not going to have a show. I'm gonna do a rerun at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's part of the sacrifice. That's part of the sacrifice of playing the long game. You know, I'm trying to do this during the summer, so I won't have to deal with it. I'm paying for next year's car repairs. I'm paying for next year's taxes this year. I don't do like ESPN and just pay for everything now and hope some big amount of money comes in. No, I plan now for then. You know, what do you call harvesting now? You know, Bible says there was 7 years of feast and 7 years of famine. I'm doing a 7 years of famine now, feast now, because I know famine in the wintertime be here. So I won't have to do it. So either way, like I said, if Carlos can make it, we'll go live, knock out that hour. Going to ask him some of these topics we've been talking about in the NBA, the Knicks and stuff, Damian Lillard. There's been a lot of trades since the last time I've had Carlos on the program. Asking about Bradley Beal and everything. Porzingis. And, you know, he's a contrarian, but sometimes he's right, you know. Sometimes he's right. So, folks, if you like the show, please share the show. Because, again, I don't have that kind of budget. Everything is grassroots here. Every mother effing thing in this program is organic. Everything is organic. You know, so please help me help you, you know. All right, folks, I'll be back. Worst case, you'll see me back live Wednesday. It'll be a 30-minute show. My friend Calvin, I'm going to pre-take because he's got to go to work. Also, an interview. That'll be second half of the show Wednesday. Talk baseball, talk a little bit of childhood stories. Guy I do from my childhood days, early childhood, but talk a little sports with him as well. So thanks, guys, for watching. I'll see you Wednesday, either way, here on Sports Scope.